time? Like you had left your job at the mill to because the mill had closed down. You had the opportunity to go to the Nugget.
Working with the Nugget,
and
I thoroughly enjoyed working with the Nugget, but the strange thing that for a long time after, I had worked a long time in the mill, eh?
Exactly, yeah.
And every time I came back to town and saw the mill lying there dead, as it were, eh? No emissions from it, no steam, no smoke.
That must have been totally.
Yeah, it was. It bothered me because the mill had become part of my life. And everybody thought, you know, it would never close. No, it was quite traumatic.
Definitely. Well, I mean, and I think people need a reminder still to this day that, you know, of the times that when that happened, because the mill is doing very well and we're very fortunate, but you just have to be reminded that be fortunate that you have a job, be thankful that it's there and that it stayed so long.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I thoroughly enjoyed my years with the Nugget. Eh?
How did you feel though? Like, how did you feel when Tembec started up?
Oh, I was very happy.
Yeah. You had no desire to come back. You were happy with the Nugget. It was
no. Tembec offered me a job, but and I talked it over with the editor of the Nugget, and he said simply, "You are a mature man. You have to make the decision." He said, "I can't tell you." I remember when the mill closed. That was at the end of May. And the first night was a very dramatic time, for me anyway, because there was no noise. No noise. You didn't hear the mill. Eh? You could always hear the mill. Like as long as I lived in Temiskaming, you could hear some noise from the mill.
Oh, definitely.
The suction pumps in the dry machine, and you know,
and it was just
and the old barker.
Dead quiet.
And this was a dead silence, and was strange.
I guess that would have been.
It was frightening.
Now those feelings weren't just with you; they were with a lot of the
people.
No,
everyone.
The mill.
Yes.
No, they were, and a lot of the feelings ran high at that time.
Oh yes.
After the mill closed,
yes.
Maybe you can. I'm sure you covered. I think you covered a lot of what happened in between the CIP closure and the start of Tembec.
Yeah. Well, one of the dramatic episodes was when they attempted, or they assumed, the people of Temiskaming assumed that CIP was going to move the supply of logs down the river to their Gatineau plant. And so they organized a flotilla to stop them. And they also blocked the dam, the federal dam, which was the bridge between Ontario and Quebec. Blocked all traffic, eh?
That's right. That was with all the people that were.
Yeah, right. They brought down a riot squad, of course, and eventually they dragged some people bodily off the dam. But it was a very critical moment, because there could have been some real trouble.
Oh, definitely.
Like this thing went on during the afternoon and into the evening, and the local people had hidden weapons, bars and all kinds of things in the stop logs, which they were going to use.
Yeah.
They fully intended to use them if trouble broke out. But but trouble, they avoided trouble, and I think the credit is due to an Quebec police, an officer in the Quebec police, who managed to calm things down.
He did?
Yeah.
And how did he do that?
By talking. By talking to the leaders. And, of course, Charlie Carpenter and Bill Clark, who were then, Charlie was the head of the union, and Bill Clark was interested in getting the mill started And they went into the crowd and really managed to calm things down.
Calm the people down.
Hmm.
Good.
And they averted a serious situation.
It could have been
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
more serious.
Definitely.
Well, you think about it, a lot of the men that were working at the mill at the time had young families.
That's right.
They had depended so much on this mill,
That's
you
right.
know, and had built their lives in the town, had probably been born and raised there, and here they have nothing now.
No, right.
I think people need to be reminded of that because it's easy to take advantage of the fact that, you know, you think everything's going well, but
No, I do believe that today, you know, yeah, maybe the younger people don't realize the impact of an industry closing, an industry that everyone thought would never end.
that's right. No, it's true, and
Mhm.
because you can have something going good for so long and just think that, no,
Yeah.
that will never happen here, but it happened. It happened in 1972, and I think people need to be reminded of
See,
that.
Temiskaming, the situation in Temiskaming was given a name by whom I don't know,
Okay.
but they called it the benevolent feudalism.
The benevolent feudalism. Oh, I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Well, the company supplied everything, you know. No one owned any property in Temiskaming at one time.
Really?
It was purely a company town.
Now it's
You didn't have to worry about anything.
No.
It was a sort of
that must have been a shock to the system
oh, you better believe it.
for
Yeah.
tons of people. Wow.
No, it was the company was very good. I guess on the other hand, we were not politically conscious
Okay.
because the company provided everything for us.
That's right. It's like it's you were it was like a child being led by the
That's right.
being held
That's
by
right.
the hand. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And well, it's been a good thing, and that Tembec started up, and we have to thank all the people that got Tembec started up. It's been 20. This is the 25th anniversary this year. Can you believe that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's hard to believe 25 years that it's been going, and it's been a company of people building their own future, they call it now.
Yeah, right.
I
right.
think maybe the
Right.
lessons were learned,
Yeah.
we hope. So maybe we could talk a little bit about your work with the Nugget and Pine Cones. What kind of articles, what kind of columns, I'm sure most people know, but some of the columns that come out and stick out in your mind from Pine Cones about the Temiskaming area?
A reader told me, said to me once, he said, sometimes I read your column, but you must be over 100 years old.
Thank you very much. Is that because you have a wealth of information?
And he said, why do you always write about the same thing? And I said, that's the only thing I know.
That's the only thing I know. Was he referring to the Temiskaming area? Is that
No, I was brought up on a lumber depot,
Okay.
right? And so I write often about the old days, about the lumbering era,
That's great.
which was entirely different than
Today.
today, yeah.
You had to really work for what you got back then. You know,
Yeah, right.
These days
And
it's
they
just at a
didn't
touch
make
of your
much money
fingertips.
either. I can recall very vividly when wages went up to $2 an hour, and I thought, what do you do with $2 an hour?
Like $2 an hour.
Today, no one would look at it.
Nobody would be able to live.
That's right.
You wouldn't be able to live on
That's
$2
right,
an
yeah.
hour these days.
But we survived. I think having lived in a company town, that during that period, we made our own fun, and really it was good. It wasn't all that bad. There was something good about making your own
Yes.
fun and doing your own thing.
I think so. And you know what? I think that's part that's lacking today, Gord. Personally, I look back at my family and my parents and my relatives, and I remember seeing them all when I was younger, and having a great time, just getting
Mm-hmm.
together and having a good party. And they were my age. Like, I'm the age now that they were when I was watching them. And I think it's not like that with my generation. It's not.
No,
I don't know
true.
what the differences are, if it's because I don't know if the stresses are more. I can't say that. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's different stresses that come with each generation, but I think you hit it right the head on the nail there. With the making your own fun.
Oh.
It's true.
And of course, the small town had advantages too.
Yeah.
I remember when I came out of I was in the Air Force, and I was in Montreal for a while before I was discharged. It was just about Christmas time, and the place was crowded. You couldn't walk into a store or downtown without being jammed. And when I came back to Temiskaming, I remember one night walking downtown, and it was snowing a little bit, very soft snow. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's so good to walk around and not be jostled.
Yes.
There was something really good.
Yeah, definitely. The freedom.
Yeah.
The freedom. Now, with regard to pine cones, you're still writing for the Nugget, are you not, right now?
Mm,
You are. And how often are you writing with the Nugget?
once a week.
Once a week you're doing it
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
Good. And how is it? How do you comparing now to then? How would you is there you can't compare, I'm sure, but
No, you can't.
differences?
No, you can't compare. The feelings are different. I enjoy writing. I enjoy writing a column, and but it's different.
Mm-hmm. Were you when you wrote for the Tem Times? I don't know when it was. There was a bank robbery. In
Yeah, the
Timiskaming.
bank manager got killed.
Yes. Were you writing for the Tem Times
Yes.
then? What happened there? I've always been told briefly.
That's the
because-
most stupid thing that ever happened in the world, I think.
Mhm.
Two guys came in from North Bay and attempted to hold up the bank.
The Bank of Montreal, where the Bank
The
of
Bank of
Montreal.
Montreal,
is right
yeah.
now.
There was only one bank then in Temiskaming.
Okay.
And the manager put up some objections, and they shot him, killed him.
Got 'em.
And then they took off in the car. Of course, they were caught, But one of the ironies of that episode is the fact that about 2 weeks prior to that, they had installed an alarm on the bank. And I knew the manager,
Mhm.
And I went down and this thing was sounding,
Okay.
And I mentioned it to him. I said, what a noise. And he said, I can tell you right now, if anyone ever tried to rob the bank, he said, I'd let them go ahead.
I'd let them go ahead.
But in fact,
And
he
then
didn't.
ironically.
Yeah.
Wow. No, he didn't, and that was it.
It's
That was the
ironic,
end of it. Wow. I just, that was one thing that I had heard. I mean, I'm not from Temiskaming, obviously. I'm from North Bay. I've
Yeah,
just lived
right.
in Temiskaming for a
Right.
few years now, but that was a story that I had heard from somebody.
Mhm.
Any other types of stories that you can remember over the years, Gord, that stick out in your mind about the area, things that have happened aside from the mill?
Yeah, well, Thorn came into existence, the village of Thorn.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the big events, and so did Latang.
Latang. Right. You watched it grow, really. You watched the town grow.
Yeah, but it happened, it just happened. And to me, they are not big events. They just
Yeah.
part of
Life.
yeah, they're part of the natural progress, I guess, of a community. And one of the things I remember though is the fact that during that period they dismantled the cable crane.
The cable crane.
The cable crane was a device that came from Sweden. There were two big towers joined by a steel cable.
Okay.
And the carriage ran on this steel cable and transported logs into the storage area,
Okay.
which is now Irwin Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
and they dismantled that. And that's one of the things I remember, because the cable crane, became a very important part, or natural part of the town.
Piece of the history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Monument.
and of course they changed the entire wood handling system
Yes.
during that time.
Yes.
The old 16-foot barker was another part of the town. It made a noise, had a lot of lights on it like a carnival. And everyone who came, every stranger who came to Temiskaming looking for a job was put on the barker.
Was put on the barker.
Yeah.
Now, was that to test them to see if they'd survive?
I don't know. It could have been.
If you do a 12-hour shift on that barker, you're in.
A lot of people worked on the barker.
Oh gosh. Have you you go up to Temiskaming? You still have family there, Peter? And
Pardon? Yeah, I have
Peter's
a
up there.
daughter and a son.
And Peter's up there, and
Yeah.
what do you think? The town's come a long way over the years. It's actually looking quite good. I think, and even the past 5 years that I've been living there, I've noticed a lot of changes happening. Have you been along the walkway, the pathway?
Oh yes, it's changed dramatically, from the time I lived there. But there was something about that, and I guess this is natural. There was something about that old town that that will never come back.
That will never come back. No.
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 It was very cosmopolitan. There were all kinds of people, like Europeans, a lot of Europeans,
Yes.
and a very large Scandinavian colony.
Yes.
Now they had a tremendous influence on the people of Temiskaming, because they introduced skiing, and a broader outlook.
Really, with the Scandinavian people.
Yeah,
Now, how did that come about? The Scandinavians so many coming to the area.
Well, they came because they were experienced pulp makers,
Okay.
And so Dr. C.B. Thorne became technical director of Canadian International Paper.
Okay. And then
And of
subsequently
course
brought
he
more people
attracted others,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it always amazed me with the Scandinavian
Yeah.
heritage that we have in the community.
No, they were good people. They were different, and I think they gave to us. We were still suffering from a Victorian influence, strict codes and so on. And they had a broader outlook.
Good, something fresh. Put a fresh
Yeah,
face
it was
on
fresh, and like they would go down swimming and they'd change their clothes, behind a small tree, and
Oh,
they
really?
thought nothing of it.
Oh.